Hey yo, what up? What up? It's Lamette with Selah Sports TV back at you with another one. So we finally got Anthony Joshua, AJ Anthony Joshua, and Deontay Wilder in the same room, right? On the same stage at that. And I thought the interaction between them was interesting. Interesting. And due to that and what kind of happened afterward, we've seen the recent these guys are starting to chirp back and forth, even though it was very respectful when they were in front of each other. We saw one guy staring at another guy, you know, pretty intensely, right? And the other, and one of these guys bowed his head and reached his hand out to give the one a pound. Now I'm gonna let you figure out, or you can go back and look at the video and see who's who, right? But after all that, we had some comments coming out. So it made me just want to, because that shit just brought back some memories, you know. There was a time when this fight was the biggest thing in boxing, right? This fight potential was the biggest thing in boxing. Like, these guys had boxing by the neck. You know, everybody was talking about these two guys. They weren't talking about Canelo. They weren't really talking about Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, not nearly as much as these guys, right? They had their pick of the litter in boxing. So it made me kind of want to revisit that this time, right? So let's do it. As we see, Deontay Wilder, he's over there in Saudi Arabia, or he was on stage, and it's interesting because the guys that got him there, and he's set to get the bag, right? He's set to get the bag here, and the way he has kind of marketed himself, I guess he deserves it, you know? Now, as far as boxing ability, I beg to differ, but it's more than just boxing ability, right? It's about marketability too, you know? And he has been with Al Heyman, the guy over here to your right. That's who he has been with most of the time, but very interesting what's going on, the dynamic that's taking place right now. So um, let's just revisit some things. Deontay Wilder had this to say, and this was a comment he made to Tyson Fury. When that fight was a draw, I told you that I would give you a rematch. You know, I was offered more money to fight Joshua than I was getting to fight you. Again, being a man of my word, I fought you like I said I would. So as far as I'm concerned, I could really just stop the video right here, right? Because the man is admitting to ducking Anthony Joshua. Why the fuck would you take less money to fight Tyson Fury when you were standing to make upwards of $120 million over 3 years? Legacy money, life-changing money. You were set to make that over 3 years, right? But instead, he took what I think somewhere around a 20 million fight to fight Tyson Fury. You know, and it's like, okay, he's free to do that, but my main issue is the comments. Like, he says this in public, but then in another interview he'll say that AJ was running from him. And it's like, I'm wondering what you guys are listening to. I'm wondering what you guys are looking at. Like, the two things, somebody, like, he's either telling the truth here or he's telling the truth there. But both statements can't be right. But we're going to go through it. Let's dive in. So here's another comment that Deontay made that kind of raised a lot of eyebrows. And this is a comment that he made recently. Another thing we got to change about these fighters, about getting this money. Stop getting the money when it's over. You got to pay me after the fight after the time of a fight is over with waiting and all this. But I mean, it's very jumbled the way he said this, but basically he's saying he wants to get paid after the fight. He doesn't want to get, he doesn't want to wait a month or two, weeks or 3 weeks. We need it now. He wants to get paid after he fights, and that's legit. Like, why would that not be the case? That's only over there on the PBC side where you hear this type of shit. But you got a bunch of PBC idiots, fanboys. Like, how are you gonna be a fanboy of a promotion of a business? You're the fanboy of a business. That's pretty fucking stupid. Like, it's a business. It's not even a person. Like, how are you gonna be? But they took this and they want to say that he's talking about Bob Arum. Why the fuck would he be talking about Bob Arum? Like, explain that one to me. Has Deontay Wilder ever fought on a top ranked card? Ever? No. Put it like this. And even if you want to say top rank and PBC, they split the card when him and Fury fought, fine. But his check wasn't coming from top rank. That much we know. So cut the crap. Like I said, this guy turned down $120 million over 3 fights. Right? Him and his manager and Jay Diaz and Al Heyman, they thought it would be wise to turn that type of money down. And then he says, he has this to say recently. Actually, I don't think I know for a fact that it's been management. It's promotion that have held him back from fighting me because he's a fighter. How does he say this? Like, how does this jibe with how does this comment jibe with this? Tell me. Somebody explain that one to me. Like, how can you say his management held him back when you said you were offered more money to fight him than to fight Fury, and you chose to fight Fury? Right? How does that work? I don't get it. But y'all keep letting this cocksucker get up here and say anything. Right? And to me, that's crazy. Like, look at all the things that have been said by him and by his people. Remember this? As we see Deontay Wilder throwing, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what kind of punch that is, but it's incorrect. I know that. I don't know what kind of punch that is. Right? But that's probably why he keeps breaking his hand, breaking his arm and shit, because he basically wasn't listening to his trainer. And I'm talking about Mark Breland. Right? But you see, Shelly Finkel called him a baby champ. He literally called that man a baby champ when they asked him why he wasn't unifying titles. Shelly Finkel got up there and said, "Oh yeah, he's a baby champ." And y'all okay with that? Y'all, I noticed something about y'all. Y'all put the blinders on when it's convenient for you. I see y'all doing that a lot. That's some interesting shit. So let's talk about the records of these guys. And I'm just gonna go from 2016 to 2019. Why? Because 2016 is when Anthony Joshua became a champion, right? These are all the guys that he fought in that time, and these are their records. You got Joseph Parker, who was 24-0. He was a WBO champion. You got Dominic Brazil, 17-0. You got what's this guy's name? King Charles, right? He was 23-0-1. He was the IBF champ. You got Alexander Povetkin, 34-1. You got the legend, Vladimir Klitschko, 64-4, right? And then of course you got Dillian White down there 16-0. His opposition had a combined record of 178, 6-1. That's what he was doing in 3 years, right? Nobody was running through guys like that. See, I get it. Like a lot of these guys, we look at them and we're like, man, these guys, he's a bum. But look at Dominic Brazil. He was undefeated at that time. Joseph Parker was undefeated, right? King Charles was undefeated. Povetkin only had one loss. Dillian White undefeated. A lot of these guys, he started them on a downward spiral. And Dillian White, I mean, sometimes he just had too much heart for his own good. Also, he was on the juice, right? So, really had no business fighting AJ at that time. No business, you know. But it got him on a downward spiral as well, you know. But let's look at Deontay Wilder. So, how many of these guys did Deontay Wilder fight? He ran from Dillian White for years. Never fought the guy. Like Dillian White couldn't disrespect him enough to get him in the ring. Didn't fight Klitschko. He was called a baby champion. So his management stopped. You know, his management held him back from fighting Klitschko, right? But he won't say that. Povetkin, now granted, he was supposed to fight Povetkin, and Povetkin got busted for having illegal substances in his system. Cheating, basically. He had some form of performance-enhancing drug in his system, so that fight was called off. But I'm not going to give him complete pass because Luis Ortiz also was caught cheating, and he didn't have a problem fighting him twice, right? Didn't have a problem fighting that guy twice, so that's the thing. With this guy, it's just so you can poke holes in his resume. You can poke holes in his character. He did fight Dominic Brazil, but this was after, long after AJ fought him, right? This is like a year or two after AJ fought him. So, and he got him out of there in something like a round, something like that. And he is scheduled to fight Joseph Parker next. So at least he's getting around to it now. But damn, how many years has it taken? And he got, I mean, Anthony Joshua beat that guy. It remains to be seen if Wilder's going to beat Joseph Parker. Right? Remains to be seen. Wilder has fought, he's had one round of boxing in the last 2 years. One round against Robert Helenius. And call me crazy, but that fight is suspect in my eyes. That shit wasn't real. In my eyes, that Helenius fight was not real. At all. But that's the only, he's had less than a round of boxing in 2 years. And before that, he was getting bounced off the fucking canvas by Fury. Repeatedly. So we don't know what this guy is. We really don't. Right? But here's who Wilder was fighting. Here's who he was fighting in that time frame. From 16 to 19. Right? Look at these guys, man. You got Areola. You got Gerald Washington. Of course, Bermain Stavern. Luis Ortiz. Tyson Fury. And Dominic Brazil. Right? That's who he was fighting in that time frame. Now, a lot of guys will look at the records and say, I mean, okay, like his list isn't quite as good as AJ's, but it's not far off. Well, it is. Because it's more than record. Like Gerald Washington, yeah, he's undefeated. He's 18-0 and one draw, but he was not on the world level. Bermain Stavern, really? Areola. Like these guys are not they're not the caliber of guys that AJ has been fighting. Even the Tyson Fury that he fought at that time, that's not the Tyson Fury that we see now. If Anthony Joshua would have fought that version of Tyson Fury, like, he doesn't make it to the final bell. But that's why Fury basically chose to fight Wilder instead of AJ, because he could have fought AJ if he wanted to. Right? Luis Ortiz was. I'm not going to lie. Luis Ortiz was a solid win. But there's always a fucking but with this guy. Pause. There's always something with this guy. That fight was stopped in the middle of the fucking round when he was getting his brains beat in by Ortiz so the doctor could check him. In the middle of the fucking fight. The referee comes up to the fucking ring while the referee stops the fight so that AJ could receive attention during the fight. See, he was on the verge of going out then, and they saved him. They fucking saved him. But this is the guy who's psychoanalyzing other fighters and saying who's a fraud and who's this and who's that. This guy. Very interesting. So then they had that Fury fight, which ended up in a draw, and frankly, I don't have a problem with it. I feel like when you get dropped twice and you don't drop the other guy at all, I don't really care. I don't really care how well you danced around the ring and hit him with a few jabs. Like, I don't feel like you deserve the clear-cut victory, especially when you're fighting a champion. So I had no problem with them giving a draw. But just scoring the fight, if I'm just scoring it, blow, blah, blah, scoring the fight, Fury won that fight. But the way he fought, it was almost like how Shakur Stevenson fought De Los Santos. It was almost that type of performance. He ran around the ring, right? Ran around the ring, and didn't do much. But he did outscore Wilder. He did. But he got dropped twice. But then I saw something in that fight. After that last knockdown, Tyson Fury got on his front foot and basically beat the hell out of Wilder in that last round. Wilder went life and death with that guy. Basically just getting off the couch to fight him. So then, here's where the shit starts getting tricky, because, of course, Eddie Hearn sees this, and Anthony Joshua, they see this, and they're like, whoa, let's let's make this fucking fight, man, before you blow the bag, right? Like, you're gonna fuck up the bag. Like, if you lose to somebody, we can make a lot of money. Both sides. So Eddie Hearn's trying to make the fight, and Al Heyman's throwing up the blocks. Right? We remember this, right? It wasn't that long ago. Anthony Joshua, they're getting more and more antsy about making a fight. Hey, let's do this. And Deontay Wilder goes on record, or he goes on in an interview and said, it ain't even about the belts no more, baby. They calling, they begging me to fight. And he's running from the fight. The same fight he's accusing AJ of being held back from. It ain't even about the belts no more. He said that. I know a lot of, like, we live in this microwave society now, so it's kind of hard to keep track of things. It gets kind of hard to keep track of things, but that's our job. We got to do that. It wasn't that long ago. So here's the quote right here. And you can look at when it was said. Anthony Joshua's team are begging for the fight. So who's holding who back from the fight? Right? Who's holding who back? Whose team? This guy does a lot of projecting. A lot of it. They're definitely begging now. His management have been trying to reach out to mine all of a sudden. Wilder told Joe Rogan's podcast. And you know what that means? That means you can look that up on Joe Rogan's channel. It's like the lies are stupid. Right? Here's the same quote again. Actually, I don't think I know for a fact that it's been management, it's been promotion that have held him back from fighting me. He said that. See how the two things, how do you reconcile that? How do you reconcile that? So then, of course, the money did get messed up because Anthony Joshua, for whatever reason, chose to make Andy Ruiz a late replacement. You see, scored a big right hand on Andy Ruiz, dropped him. He thought he was more hurt than he was. Got up with his hands down. Andy Ruiz went upside his head, and Anthony Joshua never recovered. Lost his titles just like that. This is after he lost his titles. You can see the sportsmanship, the class this guy has, right? There were no accusations, no excuses, nothing. He just lost and took it, right? He just lost and took it. That's it. And you would think with a bag that big kind of getting messed up, you would think Wilder would be pissed off, right? But he wasn't. This guy was ecstatic that AJ lost. Absolutely ecstatic. And he didn't hesitate to pile on. I told you that guy was a fraud. He was a fraud, and he was always fake champion, and this and this and da 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 da. He had everything to say about this guy. And what he should have been saying to himself is, how am I going to get 120 million now? Because Fury didn't generate that kind of income. He didn't. Very envious, very jealous, spirited guy here. So then, during this time, we got Fury who he was supposed to go right back into a Wilder rematch, but he chose to. He actually was ordered to by the WBC. They ordered a voluntary. He was a voluntary fight to begin with. Like he wasn't a mandatory, but after the Fury, and this speaks to the corruption of the WBC. Wilder chose to fight this guy. He wasn't a WBC mandatory opponent. They had the draw in the first fight. Then the WBC takes this voluntary opponent, Fury at the time, and makes him a mandatory. When Dillian White was sitting there, number one contender, mandatory already. Somehow Fury just jumped Dillian White. It's the little things. It's the devil's always in the details. But he didn't even. Not only did he jump Dillian White, they ordered him to fight Wilder, but he took 2 other fights instead and didn't lose his status. Interesting, huh? Tom Schwartz and Otto Wallin. And Otto Wallin happened to be a major league banana peel because he beat Tyson Fury. Look at that cut. Right? Look at that cut, man. Anybody else, that fight is going to be stopped due to the cut. and he would lose. It wasn't a headbutt that did it. Look at the referee. No, that's not a new colorway uniform. That's Tyson Fury's blood. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. This guy's been getting taken care of for a long time. So now we're ready for the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder rematch, right? This was the press conference. At this time, even though they just had the draw, Wilder was still full of confidence. He had no doubt in his mind that he was going to knock out Tyson Fury. I mean, he was calling Fury pillow-fisted. He said he couldn't punch. Everything, right? He was saying everything. Meanwhile, Tyson Fury, after the Adewale fight, he fired Ben Davison and hired Sugar Hill, right? Now, once that happened, combined with what I saw in the 12th round of the last fight between these two guys, not Tyson Fury, not the Adewale fight, but between Fury and Wilder, once I saw the last round of that fight, and the fact that he went and got Sugar Hill, I'm like, oh, he's gonna hurt this guy. I called, and I was the only one at that time. I remember. Everybody was saying Wilder's gonna knock him out. Wilder's gonna do this. Wilder's gonna do that. Everybody was wrapped up in that Wilder spell. But I know what I'm seeing, and I trust my eyes more than anything. Right? See, I like to come with the receipts, the actual receipts. I wasn't on YouTube yet, but who wasn't on Facebook, right? You can see the dates. You can see my Facebook account. You can see what I said about these fights. You can see what I said about these fights. Right? Yeah, I made a bag on this fight. I made a bag. So now it's fight time. See this ridiculous uniform. That's how he came out in the fight. He had to peel. He walked out in that and had to peel all that crap off to get ready to fight. Yes, around the eyes there are lights. He had lights shining into his eyes. Like, why you would do that before a fight? No idea. But he chose to do that. And you see Fury's ring attire, right? Well, I'm not even gonna hold you. This fight here was a absolute mauling. This fight, I'm talking about Wilder got his ass whipped worse than Errol Spence did against Crawford. And that's hard to do. Like, it was bad. It was bad. Real bad. It was so bad. Like, I mean, you can't point to nothing that Wilder did well in that fight. Like, from the opening bell, he got destroyed. He even got licked. Pause. I mean, do I have to say pause? Because it really happened. Look. Even the referee is like, man, what the hell? He even got licked in that fight. That was horrible. The fight brought back memories of Martin versus Tommy Hearns. And you can see why. Right? Like I said, the fight was worse than what Terrence Crawford did to Errol Spence. And that was bad. I feel like Crawford carried Errol Spence a few rounds in that fight. And Terrence Crawford is like, what the fuck? Right? So then, of course, with guys like this, I mean, we talking about like the most narcissistic personalities, man. Some of these athletes are disgusting, man. Like something about when people telling you that you're so great for too long, you start really believing that your shit don't stink. So after he got destroyed, you know, he got destroyed. The stories were already out there how him and Mark Breland weren't seeing eye to eye. Mark Breland's trying to get him to be a boxer, right? He's trying to get him to run and do all these things that boxers do, train and run and spar and do all, just live a boxer's lifestyle. But in Deontay Wilder's mind, I ain't got to do, I don't need skill because I got to be, like, his whole thing was that right hand. He thought that he really didn't have to become a boxer, right? So he blamed Mark Breland and fired him. But then he goes and hires, his new trainer, Malik Scott, who basically trains him how to box. But see, that's a whole mind fuck right there in and of itself. He knew Mark Breland was right. But instead of eating humble pie and saying, you know what, Mark Breland, I was wrong. I should have listened to you. No, I'm going to fire him and do basically what Mark Breland said with another trainer. Like people never, that's some bitch ass shit, man. That's literally something a broad would do. A lot of you guys probably been in relationships with a woman, and you're trying to get her to do just be, I ain't gonna say a good person, but just be the right woman for you, right? You're trying to do this and do that, but she's fighting you every inch of the way. But then you see her get with the next guy, and she's basically doing doing everything you said, right? Because it's too much to admit fault. They'd rather uh I mean, it's not, they do it a lot, man. It's not like don't think it's just yours. Like, this is what they do. This is a narcissist perspective. It's easier to clean house and just start over, instead of admitting fault for whatever reason, right? So then we didn't see, after he took that brutal whipping by Fury, we didn't see him for some months. But then when we did see him, we saw him twerking. It's like the first time we see this motherfucker in months after he got destroyed by Fury. He's out there twerking. I gotta get this off the screen. I just can't even. And then the excuses came. Since he came back in the public eye, he has to have a reason for the loss. And the excuses came and they kept coming. Pause. The excuses would not stop. Yeah, his costume was too heavy. The costume that he chose, the costume he paid for, right? The costume he tried on, right? That was also something he didn't mind using as an excuse. The costume was too heavy and it wore his legs out. The referee was on the take. His trainer spiked his water. How ridiculous is that? I mean, they have drug tests before and after these fights, right? Nothing was found spiked. Nothing was found in the system. Like, some of these excuses came earlier than others because then they got a whiff of how ridiculous they were, and the excuse was quickly dropped, and he hung on to the ones that couldn't be proven. For instance, number 4, Tyson Fury fought with egg weights inside his gloves. Right? That's the one they hung on to. Well, damn, Deontay, how did that happen? Like, the boxing commission, they have to approve the gloves. And your trainer, Jay Diaz, is in there when the guy's getting his hands wrapped. Oh, well, the boxing commission, they ignored Fury's illegal glove, so the commission was in on it too. Like, there's no limit to the fuckery. His trainer colluded with Tyson Fury's team to throw in the towel. Like, no shame, no shame at all in saying these things. Unbelievable. He really go back and look this shit up. He really said all this after he took his first loss. Like, you really see the character of a person, especially a fighter, right? Through wins and losses. So let's talk about what didn't happen and what did happen after that Fury fight, the second one. You would think, with those that many accusations and excuses, did he sue Tyson Fury for cheating? No. Did he formally appeal the fight through the boxing commission, through the WBC? No, of course not. What did he do? Complain and make excuses on YouTube. That's what he did. That's what the guy did. Man, this to be continued, but I mean, not only that, but like, I ain't even gonna hold you. He went into a third fight with the guy that he had all those excuses for. He went into another fight, didn't sue him or nothing, and y'all believe that bullshit. But this guy is a clown. Apparently he's not done being a clown. So much so that I gotta do another part to this video, right? Plus, my kids need breakfast. So, hey, if you like the video, go ahead and bang off on that like button one time. Peace.